Mysteries are intriguing, and there are a lot of infamous fictional and real-life conundrums that have us stumped. Atlantis, anyone? There are plenty all over the world, but these are 4 unsolved mysteries in the United States. D.B. Cooper. On November 24, 1971, a man who purchased his ticket under the name Dan Cooper hijacked Northwest Orient Airlines Flight 305 that was flying from Portland, Oregon to Seattle, Washington. The name DB allegedly came from a mix-up when news outlets were originally reporting the story. While in flight, he gave a note to one of the flight attendants saying he had a bomb in his briefcase, and his demands were 4 parachutes and $200,000 in $20 bills. The plane landed safely in Seattle, and the other passengers on the flight were exchanged for the parachutes and the money. Dan Cooper then instructed the pilots to fly to Mexico City. At some point between Seattle and Reno, Nevada, Cooper lowered the staircase in the rear of the aircraft and jumped out into the night with the money and 2 parachutes. An exhaustive search was launched by the FBI, but no one has ever been successfully tied to the hijacking, and it remains unsolved. The only evidence that has been recovered was Cooper's tie that he left on the plane, and a small fraction of the ransom money that was found in 1980 by a young boy in Washington state. Isabella Stewart Gardner Museum theft. The Isabella Stewart Gardner Museum is an art museum located in Boston, Massachusetts. On March 18, 1990, at 1:24 in the morning, 2 men disguised as police officers gained entrance to the museum by telling the security guard that they were responding to a disturbance. That security guard and a second one were handcuffed, tied up, blindfolded, and forced to stay in the basement. The 2 imposters then proceeded to steal 13 pieces of art, which included works from well-known artists like Rembrandt, Vermeer, and Manet. The guards were not discovered, and the real police were not alerted until the next shift of guards came a little after 8 a.m. The monetary value of the work stolen was $200 million then, about $500 million today. With such an immense price put on these works, the police noted that the paintings that were stolen were carelessly cut out of their frames instead of removed in a protective way. The case is, as of yet, unsolved, and the museum is offering a $10 million reward for information that could lead to the safe recovery of the stolen works of art. Alcatraz Escape. Alcatraz Island, in the San Francisco Bay of California, used to house a maximum security federal prison. On June 11, 1962, 3 men were able to escape the notoriously escape-proof prison. Their flight started months beforehand with extensive planning and preparation. They fashioned tools, such as a drill made with a motor from a vacuum cleaner, to loosen the air vents that were at the back of their cells. They made life jackets and a 6x14-foot raft out of raincoats, built wooden paddles, and used a converted musical instrument to inflate the raft. On the night of their escape, they exited their cells through the air vents, got their raft and other gear, and made their way up to the roof. They were able to avoid detection and get to the northeast shore of the island and into the San Francisco Bay on the raft. It was discovered that these men had escaped the next morning when a prison guard thought that they were still sleeping, but upon closer inspection, found that there were papier-mâché heads on their pillows. An extensive search was launched, but it is unknown what happened to the men after they launched into the bay. The FBI has officially closed the case. We do know that they were able to leave the prison and the island. What happened after that remains a mystery. Lost Colony of Roanoke. In 1587, a group of English colonists led by John White landed on the shore of what is now North Carolina. It was unique because it was the first trip that brought English women and children to what is now America. However, after 1 year, John White returned to England to get more supplies and more people to bring back to the colony. He returned 3 years later and found no one there. The only things he did find were the words Croatoan and CRO carved into wooden posts. He was forced back to England by a storm and could not conduct an extensive search for members of the colony. The lack of any first-hand accounts of what actually happened to the colonists and the quote-unquote disappearance of them led it to be widely called the Lost Colony of Roanoke. However, archaeologists, historians, and others have discovered evidence that suggests that the colonists moved to Hatteras Island and lived there with the native people, the Croatoans. Unearthed artifacts suggest that the 2 societies were mixing, and some believe that the words carved into the posts were a message to John White telling him that the colony was moving. In time, maybe these mysteries can be solved. Thanks for watching, and for more fascinating facts, subscribe to Fact Around and find out.